My parents starved me and people paid to watch. My parents forced me to starve myself until I hallucinated because they discovered they could charge people to hear God speaking through their prophet child. My parents were always looking for their next scheme after Dad's scam of a construction business tanked. They'd tried selling fake supplements, running online psychic readings, even breeding exotic lizards. Then I got food poisoning at 11 and spent 3 days hallucinating from the fever. I kept babbling about seeing angels and talking to dead grandma. Instead of taking me to the hospital like normal parents, mine started recording everything I said. Then they drove around to different churches until they found one desperate enough to believe their 11-year-old could channel God. They practiced their sob story about their holy child until it sounded believable enough to monetize. Then they had to put their money where their mouth was and have me deliver some visions again. So they announced my first purification fast, 3 days of nothing but water while they sat around waiting for divine messages. By the end, I was seeing spots and mumbling total nonsense, which they wrote down like it was Shakespeare or something. When I begged for food, Mom said, "Would you rather have a sandwich or save Mrs. Lipton's marriage? She's paying $500 to hear God's plan for her cheating husband." They stuffed me in white robes and shoved me in front of crying church members while I delivered prophecies that were actually just me hallucinating. I told Mrs. Lipton the angels would pick her husband up in a flying cauldron and bring him to Siberia. My parents convinced her it was a metaphor, and the crowd went wild. After that, my parents' forced fasts became more regular and longer. 3 days became 4, then 5. My parents bought professional recording equipment to capture my starvation ramblings and started selling subscriptions to rich church members. They'd make me memorize details about each client, so when I was delirious, I'd accidentally mention stuff that seemed personal. I'd stand there swaying, mixing up Bible verses with whatever gossip I'd overheard about their marriages or businesses. Every time I begged to stop, my parents would insist that I was helping these people, and that if I stopped, I'd go to hell for my selfishness. Meanwhile, they were counting their cash. By 14, I looked like a skeleton. My hair was falling out in chunks, and I fainted basically every day. But the congregation ate it up, saying I was too pure for earthly flesh. Mom would run her fingers over my ribs and whisper, "Beautiful suffering, holy child." During one 7-day fast, I got so messed up I thought the church ceiling was made of bread and started trying to eat the air. Everyone lost their minds crying about visions of heavenly sustenance and threw $40,000 at my parents. Between fasts, they kept me on this pathetic diet to maintain my ethereal prophet look, daily weigh-ins, and if I gained even half a pound, they'd cut my portions. Dad would sit there scarfing down 3 plates of food while explaining that prophets shouldn't look well-fed. They had my starvation sessions scheduled like business meetings, planning them around rich visitors and major church events. My whole life was just starving, recovering from starving, or dreading the next time I'd have to starve. During this huge Easter prophecy event with 200 paying guests, I completely snapped. 3 days into my fast, I stood up there in my stupid white robes, dizzy from hunger, and started spilling everything. I called out specific people by name with the dirt my parents had dug up on them. One lady's cheating husband, a guy and his drinking problem, a mom being told her kid was sick because she didn't believe hard enough. Then I dropped a bomb. I'm not talking to God. My parents are starving me until I hallucinate. Tomorrow I'll be so hungry I'll barely be able to speak, and they'll charge you $500 for it. The whole room went dead silent while I kept going, explaining how they went through trash and stalked Facebook profiles for intel. I told them there was no God speaking through me, just a hungry kid with good ears and parents who figured out how to monetize child abuse. Some people started crying, others looked ready to riot, but I just kept talking until I ran out of secrets to spill. But my parents had a backup plan. Mom rushed the stage and grabbed me, tears streaming down her face. "The demons are fighting for his soul," she wailed. She spun this whole story about how my confession was actually Satan trying to destroy their ministry. Somehow they convinced most of these idiots that my breakdown was proof of spiritual warfare. They locked me in the basement prayer booth and announced a 40-day purification fast to cast out my demons. Church members took shifts praying outside my door while my parents collected emergency donations for this critical spiritual battle. They actually played recordings of my confession as evidence of how powerful the evil forces were. My desperate attempt to tell the truth became their biggest moneymaker yet. 16 days into the 40-day fast, the pastor found me collapsed and unconscious after my kidneys shut down. The hospital recognized years of severe malnutrition and called the cops, and they found financial records showing over $2 million in prophecy donations, plus major tax evasion. My parents got 12 years for child endangerment and fraud, and I got to eat again.